on the hunt is guided by some of the keenest senses in the Cretaceous.
Its eyesight would actually have been very, very good.
The eyes of a T-Rex are gigantic, the size of softballs. A large retina collects more light, more visual information. The result, T-Rex can clearly see prey from as far away as 4 miles. Critically, both eyes face forwards, and their line of sight overlaps. So each eye looks at the same object from a slightly different angle. That means T-Rex can experience the world in 3 dimensions.
There's very little in the environment of T-Rex that would escape its attention.
For a hunter, hungry after months of growing her eggs, making a kill may mean the difference between life and death. Ankylosaurus is an herbivore, but it's a tank of a reptile covered in steel-tough armor. T-Rex 3D vision pulls this animal clear of the background. Could this plant eater be dinner?
T-Rex is impressive and it's powerful, but compared to an ankylosaur, it's relatively lightly built.
Protective plates made of bone and cartilage cover this lumbering creature from head to tail. Light but extremely strong, the hide of Ankylosaurus is built like a bulletproof vest. And that's not all. Ankylosaurus is armed with a deadly weapon, a bony club.
If that club were to connect into the skull of the T-Rex or into the shin and foot of the T-Rex, it would shatter those bones.
I think that one good blow by the tail club would be enough to deter this Tyrannosaurus.
Ankylosaurus are plant eaters, yet they're designed to kill. Even a Tyrannosaurus Rex would have to be at the top of its game to bring one down. T-Rex has a refined array of senses that just might lead the way directly to a meal. An acute sense of smell, for one. Behind the nostrils are large cavernous chambers lined with sheets of sensory tissue able to detect odors. The olfactory bulbs transmit that information back to the brain.
One of the big surprises was the size of the olfactory bulbs, part of the brain associated with processing information about smells in the environment.
To increase the number of odor detectors, the area containing sensory tissue is designed like a radiator. A T-Rex can pick up the slightest whiff of meat as it faintly wafts across the landscape.
T-Rex had a sense of smell equivalent to 100 bloodhounds all duct taped together.
They certainly had the largest olfactory lobe of any animal living or extinct on this planet.
A super sense of smell is a hunter's dream. From a substantial distance, a T-Rex can zero in on prey or pick up their hatchling's distinct scent. And when you look into the face of a T-Rex, something else becomes obvious. The nostrils are a full 10 inches apart. But why? It means T-Rex can smell in stereo. This carnivore can triangulate an odor, pinpoint its exact source.
T-Rex could walk into a crowded auditorium and in a few seconds identify every single person and creature by its own idiosyncratic odors.
This female is desperate to eat. She picks up the scent of a meal. But it's the scent of an animal all but the strongest tyrannosaurs prefer not to mess with.
That's the most dangerous challenge that any big carnivore ever faced was the swinging head of Triceratops. It's like a gigantic white rhinoceros on steroids.
26 feet long and 10 feet tall, a full-grown Triceratops can reach 6 tons in weight.
If there's an animal whose scent would frighten a T-Rex, it's Triceratops.
T-Rex is well aware of the risks. Its cerebrum has information stored from previous contacts. It knows the danger ahead. Turning a triceratops into lunch means overpowering a beast with 3-foot-long horns sheathed in rock-hard keratin and a body protected by a bony shield. But possibly, the survival of her genes for another generation might be just one fight away.
One could imagine that the conflict between Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops may have been one of the greatest combats that nature has ever had.
And this well-protected herbivore is everywhere. In fact, in the late Cretaceous, Triceratops outnumbered Tyrannosaurs 10-1. Their success is down to one reason.
A single thrust of the brow horn could penetrate right into the cardiac chamber or the lungs.
If you're going to put a meter-long horn into a chest cavity of a T-Rex, the chance of you doing some damage are pretty great.
Tyrannosaurus rex is stabbed in the eye. Triceratops, an herbivore, gets the best of the king of Cretaceous.
The key element for any predator is to go in, make the kill, get what they need, and do it without injuring themselves.
For a carnivorous predator, losing an eye could be fatal. Back at the nest, the chicks are guarded only by the male. Overhead, a Quetzalcoatlus senses blood. On the ground, one parent is down and the other faces starvation. For a baby T-Rex, it seems the situation couldn't get much worse. Sauroposeidon is the tallest land animal of all time. At 60 feet high and almost 100 feet long, it would dwarf any living creature today. Yet despite these mammoth proportions, its brain is tiny, weighing just 4 ounces.
The brain size of Sauroposeidon would probably be about the size of a cheeseburger.
Probably had the smallest brain size to body size of any big animal that's ever lived.
Big, dumb brute.
Sauroposeidon's brain is 1,000 times smaller than its body. Just an eighth the brain capacity of a T-Rex. Worse, its cerebrum, where strategic thinking takes place, is barely developed.
I mean, these guys were, frankly, dumb as a fence post.
Sauroposeidon does almost everything by instinct, including rearing, or more accurately, not rearing its children.
It may seem cruel to just dig a hole and leave your eggs in one drawn, but it's a very effective means of reproduction if you can afford to make lots of babies. We know that the sauropods were not taking care of the newly hatched babies. We don't find the newly hatched babies with the adults.
Scientists believe Sauroposeidon's gargantuan size makes incubating eggs a physical impossibility.
When you're running, say, 60, 80 feet in length, and your eggs are only about the size of a cantaloupe, the size difference makes it so hard to be gentle.
I think sauropods like Sauroposeidon are just too big to be able to control where their body mass is going to be. They don't have the brain capacity to understand where their butt is at the same time as where their head is.
With its mammoth size and limited intellect, Sauroposeidon relies on a totally different method than Tyrannosaurus rex to raise its young.
In its lifespan, a mated pair of Sauroposeidons might produce thousands and thousands of eggs, and only maybe a couple or 3 are going to survive to adulthood. So what that tells us is that almost all of the offspring are being killed and eaten by predators.
Basically, you're flooding all the carnivores with so much food that they can't eat it all, and so there's bound to be some survivors.
Sauroposeidon's approach to its young sounds brutish and cruel. Something best left in Earth's distant past. But it isn't.
Sauroposeidon, like sea turtles, for example, seems to have tried to overwhelm the predators with just sheer numbers of offspring. They're not just all laying their eggs within a few weeks of each other, they're all trying to lay their eggs on the same night or 2. And one of the reasons is that they can overwhelm the predators. If you have a food resource that's available in vast numbers, but only for a very limited time, it's hard for predators to eat all of them.
From the moment sea turtles hatch, they are on their own. For predators, hatching time is a veritable feast. Still, the strategy works. Carnivores munch down virtually every hatchling. A few, though, do make it. Not even the most voracious feeders can kill them all.
Sauropods were in a predator-rich environment, so I'm sure that many, many sauropod nests were found and destroyed by predators before the babies could even hatch.
Sauroposeidon's size is its main defense. When it reaches an adult weight of 50 tons, nothing can touch it. But maintaining this massive girth means filling your belly almost constantly. An adult will eat almost anything that grows. They consume as much as 330,000 calories, almost a ton of greenery every day. To find that much food, herds roam far and wide. Even if they had the brain capacity to care for their young, there just isn't enough vegetation to let them stay by the nest.
How much of your resources do you put into reproduction, to producing the next generation? And it's always a trade-off. If you put in a lot of parental care, then you don't have the resources to make lots and lots of babies. Or you can go the other way and make tons and tons of babies, but you won't have the resources left to take very good care of them.
Taking care of offspring requires not only brain power, but also well-developed senses. Sauroposeidon has neither. Its eyes are separated, located on each side of its head, so it has no ability to judge depth. Its small brain has just rudimentary centers of sight and smell. And its hearing is severely limited, as the cochlea duct inside the inner ear is tiny.
Sauroposeidon probably had a brain about the size of a kitten's, because it was not, unfortunately, a very smart animal. It didn't have to be. It was a food processing plant.
Sauroposeidon's 5 senses are little more than a life support system for the biggest stomach the world has ever known. For a hatchling, the situation is even more dire. They lack even the most basic early warning system. The danger is present.
Herbivores are growing much faster than the carnivores. If they don't grow fast, they get eaten.
Still, it will be a decade or more before this Sauroposeidon is big enough to join the herd. And it will spend all those years alone.
So where are the smaller animals? What did the sauropods do until they were a third grown? They weren't moving with the herd. They were probably hiding out in the forest, trying to eat as much as they could, get as big as they could, as fast as they could, so that they could join the herd. That's the best defense. It doesn't matter what else you're equipped with, whether you have horns or armor or whatever. The best defense is always to get big. And if you're a sauropod, you've got nothing else. So getting big is the only game in town.
But for Sauroposeidon, every day spent growing up is a day trying to keep out of the sights of this guy.
Deinonychus is a killing machine. Here was a creature that was small. It was fast.
Deinonychus was really one of the most remarkable predators the Earth has seen.
A 3-dimensional